During my last week at the Italian restaurant, I was tasked with a delivery that would forever etch a horrifying memory into my mind. The restaurant was a unique blend of pizzeria and Italian dining, and my responsibilities would shift from shift to shift. But this time, a late-night delivery turned my world upside down in the most chilling way. The order was substantial, 3 specialty pizzas, totaling around $70. It was slated for the rougher part of town, a minor red flag that my clunky old Civic might fly under the radar. I set out on the 15-minute drive, trying to shake off any unease. As I reached the designated address, I mustered the courage to approach the door. It swung open alarmingly fast, revealing a Latino man who stared me down with an eerie intensity. My heart plummeted as I saw the pistol he brandished. Panic surged through me as 2 more men joined him, further tightening the grip of fear. They conversed rapidly in Spanish, their agitation palpable. The one with the gun turned his attention back to me, demanding my belongings in broken English. With trembling hands, I handed over my wallet, my phone, and even my watch. The whole ordeal felt like a nightmare as my mind raced to process the terrifying situation. One of them snatched my ID from my wallet and menacingly recited my address. The implication was clear: if I dared to report this, they would visit my home and wreak havoc on my family. My voice caught in my throat, leaving me with no choice but to comply with their threats. They pushed me out the door, causing me to stumble and bleed as I hit the ground. The door slammed shut behind me, leaving me outside with nothing but my keys. I didn't return to the pizzeria. The traumatic experience was too much to bear. My parents noticed my shaken state, my disheveled appearance, and the blood on my knees. They pressed me for the truth, and I finally broke down, revealing the horrifying robbery and the threats against us. My father, with his police connections, sprang into action despite the threats. He contacted his friend on the force, and they swiftly investigated the man behind the address, a certain Rodrigo. It turned out he had a history of 4 felony convictions. Unperturbed by the threat they posed, my father orchestrated a police operation, surrounding the house with officers armed and ready. With guns drawn, the police stormed the house. 2 of the men were still inside and were promptly apprehended. Rodrigo, with his prior convictions, was handed a life sentence, while his accomplice was sentenced to 5 years behind bars. The third man, however, remained elusive and unfound, a lingering threat that weighed on our minds. In the aftermath, strange occurrences plagued our household. I'd wake up to eerie sounds outside, the creaking of the gate and shuffling footsteps on the sidewalk. The unease never truly faded, a constant reminder of the danger that once lurked so close. Despite the passage of time, the lingering fear of that man still at large casts a shadow over our lives. Perhaps he fled the country or learned his lesson to never return, but the fear lingers. The memory of that haunting night remains imprinted in my mind, a stark reminder of the sinister darkness that can reside just beyond the realm of the ordinary. When I was 19, I still found myself grinding away at the local pizza place to scrape together enough for necessities like food and gas. The routine was monotonous, taking orders, packing up food, and making deliveries. But one evening, an order came in that would shatter my sense of normalcy. The sun was setting as I embarked on yet another delivery. This time, it was a simple order, a chicken parm hero and a regular slice. A smaller order meant the tip might be meager, but I didn't have the luxury of choosing deliveries. As I approached the address, the road grew quieter and rural, leading me to a dead-end block. The houses on this block had a rustic charm, with one standing out due to the presence of an RV and a small patch of overgrown woods nearby. Darkness was descending, prompting houses to flicker to life with warm lights. However, the house I was headed to remained ominously dark, its front door slightly ajar. Unsettled, I treaded cautiously towards the door, a faint piano melody echoing from within. The sounds seemed distant, as though they were muffled by walls or doors. Knocking and ringing the bell yielded no response. A sense of unease crept over me as I noticed a crack in the door's frame. Opting against entering without permission, I circled around to the back of the property. The backyard was a chaotic mess, scattered belongings littering the grass. A broken chain-link fence added to the disorder. At the back door, I knocked again, but the response remained absent. Disconcerted, I retreated to the front and dialed a colleague at the pizzeria to confirm the address. After a brief check, they verified that I was at the right place. Gathering my courage, I pushed the door open, the eerie piano melody now louder. "Pizza's here," I announced, the music momentarily ceasing, only to resume with a haunting repetition. A voice called from the darkness, instructing me to come closer. The unease heightened as I approached the source of the sound. The house was a disarray, the smell of mustiness filling the air. Halfway into the dimly lit foyer, I halted. Something felt off, and I knew I couldn't proceed any further. I tried to communicate with whoever was inside. "Sir, the pizza's here." The music halted abruptly, replaced by an eerie silence. Anticipation clenched at me as I waited for a response, expecting footsteps to approach. But no sound followed, just an unsettling stillness. "Sir?" I called again, my voice shaky. After a pause, a voice emerged from another room, apologizing for the delay due to mobility issues. Curiosity mixed with trepidation, and I reluctantly moved towards the voice. Passing through the living room, I glimpsed an open doorway leading to a dining room, illuminated by the dim light. An inexplicable feeling of discomfort overcame me. Instead of stepping into the room, I peered around the corner, keeping a wary eye on the scene. To my surprise, the piano was playing, but the bench was empty. The room appeared unoccupied. With my guard up, I returned to the front door and slipped out into the cool evening. The unsettling feeling didn't dissipate as I drove back to the pizzeria. I recounted my eerie experience to my boss and colleagues, their reactions mirroring my own disbelief. That night, I decided to investigate further, discovering that the house had been foreclosed upon months ago and had stood vacant since. The revelation left all of us stunned, contemplating the sinister possibilities that had lurked behind that mysteriously dark house. Looking back, I shudder at how close I came to stepping into an unpredictable trap. Whether it was a malicious prank or a potential robbery, the chilling memory of that night continues to haunt me, reminding me that darkness can often hide behind the facade of the ordinary. At 17 years old, I found myself navigating the streets as a pizza delivery boy for a local joint. My old, reliable Toyota was the perfect companion, allowing me to zip around town with pizzas in tow. This particular night was a Friday or Saturday, nearing the end of my shift at around 11 p.m. My boss, who I'll refer to as Mario, handed me the final delivery of the night. It was different from the rest, a single pie for a woman named Karen, a longer drive away than usual. As I drove down unfamiliar streets, my excitement grew. A long drive meant better tips, or so I hoped. The address led me to a modest neighborhood, the houses cramped and worn. The house, labeled as Karen's, had lights on in one of the rooms on the first floor. I parked, ready to make the delivery, when a voice called out from a neighboring house. A woman explained they had mistakenly ordered the pizza, and it was intended for them. Following her instructions, I made my way to the correct address, where the doorbell was broken. Knocking impatiently, I finally heard a voice on the other side, promising to be right there. The wait felt like an eternity. When the door creaked open, a woman in her mid-40s greeted me with an unsettlingly flirtatious smile. She introduced herself as Karen and beckoned for someone named Charles to join her. Another woman appeared, equally eager to catch a glimpse of me. My cheeks turned red as they both eyed me from head to toe, showering me with compliments. My shyness kicked in, making it difficult to engage with their advances. Karen's friend joined in, asking when I'd be done with work. Nervously, I mumbled that this was my last delivery. The two women exchanged glances and, to my surprise, invited me in for wine. Swayed by the unexpected attention and my friend's imagined envy, I agreed to join them. I followed them into the house, sharing my fabricated age of 21. They didn't seem to care about my real age, whether I was under 21 or not. Settling on the couch, I tried to play it cool amidst their flattery. It was evident that they were quite drunk, which only added to my discomfort. As the night progressed, their flirtatious behavior escalated. They commented on my appearance, my dimples, and my shyness, making me blush even more. Amidst their advances, Karen's friend, Chelsea, proposed something exciting in the basement. Intrigued and hopeful, I agreed. They led me to the basement entrance, where the atmosphere suddenly shifted. Their smiles disappeared as they urged me down the stairs, insisting it was a secret surprise. Something didn't feel right, and a shadow of doubt loomed over me. Peering into the basement darkness, I thought I saw movement, a figure or a hand. Alarmed, I turned back to the women, who had started to creep towards the basement door. Instinctively, I backed away and shut the door, their laughter now eerily silent. My heart racing, I demanded payment for the pizza, growing increasingly aware of a towering man standing in the adjacent room. His presence was ominous, and his words chillingly simple, "Let's just make this easy." Panic surged through me, and I lunged for the front door. Slamming it shut, I hoped to put distance between myself and the eerie trio. But my escape was short-lived. Within seconds, the door opened again, and the man was right there, staring at me through the window, his eyes piercing. He attempted to open the door, knocking forcefully on the glass. With trembling hands, I sped away, not daring to look back, leaving behind a nightmarish encounter. Back at work, I recounted the terrifying experience to my boss and colleagues. The atmosphere was tense, and I called the non-emergency line to report the incident, fearing that something malevolent was lurking within that house. As I drove away from that chilling night, I thanked my lucky stars that I had escaped whatever ominous trap awaited me in that basement. Even years later, the memory of that night haunts me, a reminder that danger can sometimes hide behind alluring facades.